Erin. So thank you so much again for being here.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I was watching your Instagram and I saw you doing video with British accent.
The one I posted today.
Yeah, is there a reason for the British accent? I should have given you like, I don't know why I didn't do that. I'm gonna do it now.
It's one of those things where the audio's already there, so I'm lip syncing to the audio, so it's not my voice.
Yeah, it's not your voice, but what I mean is, why did you choose the British accent? Is there, do you have any background, or you think it's funny, or?
Oh no, it actually didn't have anything to do with the accent. It had to do with sort of the content of what they were saying.
Oh, that because I don't. Do you know where is Cyprus?
Cyprus. Can you explain it?
It's what did you say? Can I what?
What is it?
So Cyprus, it's an island on the Mediterranean Sea.
Oh.
It's one of, I don't know, I haven't traveled too much, but I think it's one of the most beautiful places. And English is the second spoken language here, and it's the British accent because it's in Europe. So I don't know, maybe because I'm here now, I prefer the American accent. I see it more attractive.
Interesting. Well, I know there's a lot of different sort of American dialect and then like proper English dialects as well. Do you have a particular favorite? Do you like, like someone who's from up north and like talks like this?
Yeah, I
Or
don't know why
what do you like?
I'm so obsessed with the Kentucky hunters. There is hot hunters in Kentucky. And
There's beautiful hunters in Kentucky.
yeah, and I love also the
What?
accent.
Beautiful hunter. I'm like, want to look this up now. Beautiful hunters in Kentucky. Who are these ladies and how do I look just like them? I don't know.
No,
I don't blame you though. That Southern accent's adorable. I just moved to South Carolina in August, and it's been really nice down here. It's a very lovely accent. I
yeah.
don't have it yet.
And I think also you look even better than them. It's just also for me, it's so interesting when I see women and hunter, because like where I come from, until now, like women are still even not allowed to work or drive a car. So
Wow. I can't, I have a difficulty imagining that life, considering how I grew up, but I imagine that that's still obviously very real for a lot of people.
to be honest, I now I view it that that's the real problem that we have in Middle East, and that's why like people in the US, Germany, they have better life, because I feel like the mind of people is more healthy, and for sure there is issues everywhere, but when
Of course.
the mom that bring the kids is living under system that's against humanity and against our nature and against how we, it's like life becomes so horror with wrong ideas, so that always affect the kids.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and I don't know why, but also like I try to, when I hang out, like when I have mostly friends from Germany, and also yeah, because it's Europe, so there are too many here, and I feel that they are healthier, they are smarter, and I even think that's because of how they grow up. Their mom was able to work and all this. So it's. Do you have kids? I didn't see anything in no.
No children. No.
No.
You mentioned Germany, so I like perked up a second because my husband and I, for our 1 year anniversary, for the first half of it, we did a real romantic time in Venice, which was beautiful. And then for the second half, we went to Munich for Oktoberfest.
Wow. Was it, which one was better?
Oh, they're so different. They were truly different. the romance part was lovely, and we went to Venice at an excellent time of the year. I think I've heard that some people say because of all the waterways, there can be sort of like a smell, but I don't know. It was wonderful for us. The food was out of this world. Um, and then Oktoberfest was sort of let's get drunk and shitty and like eat all the food, delicious food that we can, and have a great time. Like I bought like a proper dirndl, and he had bought lederhosen. Like we got them while we were in Munich, so they're beautiful, and we'll keep those forever. Really fun memories, and everyone was so welcoming. And my husband and I both we both have German background, and my hair was a little bit darker then, so when we were walking around, like my hair's in braids, we're wearing traditional garb, and people were walking up to us like speaking German, like they just assume that we're German, and we're kind of keep being like, I'm so sorry, we're American. That's like the biggest compliment for us, but we're really sorry.
Yeah, it's have you heard, I heard that the US like something like 70% or 50% used to be controlled by German, or even German was the spoken language.
Oh, for some reason I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's for sure more than 50% of the US.
When was that?
I don't know exactly, but in the past. It was not in the future.
Cool.
Do people do this in the US? Because so there are too many people from Germany in Cyprus, because it's an island. It's so beautiful, and it belonged to Europe. So most Germans are moving their tax to Cyprus, because in Germany they charge them like 50%, but in Cyprus they charge like 12% or something like this tax.
Oh.
So all the Germans are moving here, or most of
Yeah.
them. Like you see more Germans than the people that from here.
That happens in the US as well. We have a couple of states that don't have any state tax, some states that don't like require retirees to pay like above a certain tax bracket. So like there was a really big chunk of time, and people still do it, where they go when they move to Florida, because the amount of money, and like I can't remember what all the states were, but you get to you move there and you get to keep all this extra money because there's no state tax, and to put that toward other things that you're really excited about in life. Florida is an interesting state, but it's a little bit of a mess personally.
I don't know why I love like I never been to Florida, and it's so exciting just for me, like to never been in one place and hear about it so much. I'm also, so for me, like I don't listen to music, and I don't really have a lot of friends. So it's like I'm all the time listening to Joe Rogan podcast. Like I feel like I'm the most person who listen, like all his episodes are done in my Spotify. So I hear so much about the US, and especially about Florida. So I'm so excited to go and see. And
Do you have plans to currently? Do you currently have plans to go see?
yeah, so now my first step is I should be in Toronto
Oh, cool.
this year, and the big step is to be in the US. So for sure, I want to live there, and that's why I'm doing Zoom with you guys.
I
Part of
love
the
it.
reason I'm coming.
That's fantastic. Oh, that's so exciting. And Florida's not too far from here. Florida's about maybe about, depending on where you go. Where are you going in Florida? Because yeah, it is pretty big.
No, I really want to go first to Texas,
Texas, cool. Where about? Where do you? I mean,
Austin.
Texas is enormous.
You
Houston.
know,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't know why I tell most people this, because 1 year ago I didn't know that there is comedy. Like I didn't know that it even exists. And how I found that comedy exists is from also the Joe Rogan podcast. And it's crazy. Even I have a friends from Germany and other places, and they even didn't know about comedy until they were listening to the podcast or
Oh,
other
cool.
podcast. Yeah. So I feel like it would be cool if I can, because also they are building more comedy clubs in Austin. Have you heard
Mhm.
about it, that there are more comedians moving there? And
About Austin, Texas, you said,
yeah,
or Houston?
Austin, that there are more people, comedians moving there and more clubs.
Yeah, we had a friend, or actually, I guess I call it. I mean, we're friendly. I just literally met him when I moved here, and then he left. But he just went to Austin. Austin is a really fun city. I went there maybe about 5 years ago. Really lively, lots of like just young, fun people. Um, it was wonderful. I didn't actually get to see any comedy when we were there. We had some other activities that were planned. But I'm not surprised at all. It has totally exploded over the last several years. So it's going to continue to probably grow.
Yeah, they even say like when someone now from New York to Austin, people are more friendly and they are like, what they want from me. But then they are like, it's Austin. I don't know. But
Yeah.
what's crazy for me is people opinions. Like there are, for example, some people when I talk to them about Texas or Austin, they are like, no, don't go there. They take the women rights and you cannot do abortion and it's the worst place you can go. And some people, they are cool with it. So it's also so confusing for me to hear from people, and it will be more clear when someone go there and see it.
No, of course. Austin itself is a very blue city. So while yes, there is absolute there's a lot of truth to what people are saying they are, and that not just them, but a lot of other states are trying to strip women of reproductive rights. And it is a really challenging people are trying to get people to not go there at all. I don't know. I think it's incredible that you want to come here and explore. And part of that, includes a dark history, and you'll learn a lot as you go, but it doesn't, I don't know. I think you should enjoy yourself and get to see the places you want to see.
Yeah, it's also like Florida, they have like some rules, and some people they are like, this is abusive, this is not abusive. So it's crazy how the US is made. It's like states, states, states. And what do you think that's the best way that the country could be made?
That's a big question. It's definitely higher than my pay grade. Um, but I think what's difficult, like thinking about right now, and those laws that they're putting in place in Texas, what if we were under a single entity that was identifying all of those things and they accepted that law, then I would be much more limited on my ability to, if that was something that I had chosen to like want to do, I would be even more so limited in my options. The fact that it is with a select group of states, that leaves me with some additional options. But it's one of those things where I mean, I disagree with what's happened. I disagree with what's happening. I think people should absolutely have the right to choose, and I think the part that upsets me most is they aren't allowing for like the safety of the mother to get in the way either. um I think that's the part that upsets me the most. Even in very difficult, not very black or white situations. So it's really challenging to be here and to, so I've done women's marches in Indiana, Madison, Wisconsin, and in Charleston against what people are doing against women's rights.
Nice. It's also for me interesting to see, because like I come from a place where women have zero rights to a
Right.
place where women have like, let's say like from 0 to 10, maybe I would say 8 or 7, and they are trying to push it to 10, or I don't know, but it's just interesting. And I wanted also to ask you this question. See, like people now, they have so much like they start to disagree, for example, with what happened with COVID or with these rules. And it seems like even when there is elections, some states are really different from other states. So like, do you, for example, feel worried from the future if, or, or do you feel like everything will be okay and you are positive, especially with
Oh
this
no, I think
argument?
I'm certainly worried for the future. I think over the last five years, things have taken a very aggressive turn in a direction that's not aligned with my personal beliefs, um, which is difficult, which is really difficult, and it causes strife and fighting within like even families, not just people who are on opposing sides. And I think right now, watching state after state try and push for less rights for women, I don't think it's I think it's pushing us backward. I think it's pushing us in the wrong direction, and not in a healthy way. So I am scared. I'm scared for everyone, like not just women.
Yeah, it's crazy always, like, because in Yemen, I feel what's going on in the US now, it's how it started in Yemen before the war. This was
Mhm.
like the process. Like the war didn't happen in one day. It's like
No, of course not.
exactly, even every family start to disagree with each others. And the thing is, as the US is like the country where it's escape for everyone. So if something or things goes wrong in the US, it's not just bad for people who lives in the US. It's bad for everyone around the world who wanna live free and have um, achieve their dreams. So I wish
Mhm.
the best.
Thanks. Yeah, I hope something turns. We'll
Yeah.
see.
So talking about comedy, um,
Yeah,
yeah, let's. It's so now you for how long you been doing it?
I've been doing it almost 2.5 years.
So you started like with the pandemic, and
I did. Yeah, I took my so like my. Are you okay if I do a little bit of a sad story?
honestly, I want you to talk as much as you can. Sometimes I'm just I talk because I don't want us to be silent, but
Of
I'm here
course.
to listen to you. So feel that you have the priority, and I'm all earing.
Thank you. So in 2019, my father was diagnosed with cancer of the esophageal cancer. Oh my God, esophagus. And I was spending, before that, I was doing a lot of improv. Do you guys do improv over there as well?
Here, I'm gonna also tell you my story because there is no comedy here. As
Okay. But are you familiar with what
Zooms.
improv is?
Yeah, I learn everything just from the Zoom, so I'm cool.
Great. So I started doing improv prior to that, but because my father was sick and I was in New York a lot, taking care and like managing his health and his treatment, I wasn't able to be um, in Madison, Wisconsin, where we were living, which was where I was doing improv. So I couldn't be a part of this group and be on stage. Um, and my father had also always joked when we were younger, he was like, oh, always wish I was a comedian. Everyone says I'm so funny. Like, I wish I got into it, but like, would you still love me if I was a comedian and not like in software? And I was like, of course I would. Like, I'd love you for you. I don't love you because you're a software engineer, you know? Um, and so when he passed away in December of 2019, my husband for that Christmas gave me to stay close to my dad and to help me, get back on stage. He got me stand-up comedy classes, which was a
Oh,
very thoughtful, very sweet gift. Yeah. And then so I took the class in January. It started in January of 2020. We did our showcase in February. And then for a couple weeks, we were, continuing to go to open mics. And I actually got noticed at an open mic by somebody who was running a show. And they're like, we would love for you to like do 10 minutes at our show in April. It's this big fundraiser. And I was like, oh my God, that'd be so amazing. And then in March, everything shut down. And I was like, oh my God. So I was so upset that I had, it kind of showed that I had something, and I felt it was a really great feeling. And I stayed in touch with that person, that booker, and actually ended up, continuing doing comedy during the pandemic virtually, doing them through Zooms, doing even private shows for different groups as well. And then once everything started to open back up, he reached back out and was like, hey, like, remember we were talking about that show? Do you want to do it? It's
wow.
in June of last year. And I was like, hell yeah. So I ended up actually getting to perform with him, but instead of doing 10 minutes, I got to do 20, and it was phenomenal.
Wow, it's funny with COVID because you had to take his number, but you never know how long COVID will last. So
No, and at first, like really thinking back, I remember they were like, you're just going to have to lock down for like a month, and that's it. And then a month turned into 3 months, and 3 months turned into 6 months. And I'm not sure what it was like where you live, but like right now I'm in the South. Like when I talk about lockdown, they didn't have it as much down here as they did up there. So like when I was in Madison, like everything was shut down for a very long time, and it was cold. So we couldn't even really go out and enjoy stuff. But in the South, sure, you can't like go to a restaurant, but you can be outside, you can walk in the streets and like see people, but at a distance. But like we couldn't do anything. We were stuck in our apartment. Um, and that was really tough. But so we definitely got locked down. What was it like by you?
sorry, what was the last word?
What was the beginning
Ah,
of COVID like by you?
so
What was that like?
it's funny for me because the first lockdown was like they say it was 1 month and then they make it more. But I had mask and I lost it after 2 weeks.
Oh no.
And my girl, she was mad at me. She's like, "Why did you lose it?" I told her it's okay. 2 more weeks and we are done. And she was like, "No." And then it's like more than a year. I'm like, what? That's like crazy. Yes,
Yep.
here it's good. This is an island. People don't care. And I am in the city that's like the smallest in the island.
Mhm.
So there were lockdowns, everything, but it's like a village. It's like
Yeah. You
family
guys were
home.
a bit more secluded, so that like there wasn't a lot of people sort of traveling in to potentially
Yeah,
get
I
sick.
mean,
Is that what you mean?
I used to go to the stores, like I never get vaccinated, and I would be like, sorry, I forgot or anything. It's I didn't travel, and here it's like a small village, so people are like more friendly, and I just go to the gym and buy food from supermarket and
Hmm.
also like stay home, do comedy, and I work online. So that's how I spend it.
Yeah. I was working virtually even before everyone was working from home. I think, it was the last like 3 years I was working remotely from home. So it was like I was already sort of set up and, ready for it.
Oh, the best thing that helped me at the beginning of COVID, I moved to, it was so small, it was one room. But
Mm.
this one room I moved with my girl, it's like it has sea view. It's in the top of the mountain, and
Oh, that's so beautiful.
it has sea view. It had like small jacuzzi in the balcony, and from the in front you see the sea, and from back all the mountains behind you. So it was fascinating for me because I got to connect with nature more. Like I feel like and also I had the back surgery, so I was busy stretching,
Oh,
doing
I'm sorry.
comedy. No, it's cool. I feel like healthier than before now, and it was
Good.
good journey. I learned a lot. But the thing is, when I lived there, I like now when I see the moon or the clouds or the sea, I feel that there is more connection and understanding
Mhm.
from before the pandemic, because when I stayed there, there were lockdowns, so at night we would just watch the moon. In the morning, I watch the sunset, and I told you I don't want to talk about it in the podcast, but for sure, there are like you
Oh,
take
yes.
some coffee, and that also gives you more connection. So it was
Of
just
course.
how about you? How do you feel like with the moon, with the clouds? How is your connection, and did it change when you were like in your 20s or now?
I would say my connection with the world changed when I was around 20. I did a study abroad called Semester at Sea. Have you heard of that?
No.
So it's basically a cruise ship of 700 students who go around the world into about 10 different countries over the course of a semester. So over the course of about 3 months.
So you went all around the world.
So
But
you live on the cruise ship. You take classes on the cruise ship during the entire semester, and then we visited. We left Nassau, Bahamas, and we went down to Brazil, over to Namibia, South Africa, India, Malaysia, Vietnam, Hong Kong, China, Japan, Hawaii, and Costa Rica.
what? And 700 people. It's like
hmm
a village. You find friends, you can meet new people every day.
Oh yeah, it was fantastic. Like everyone,
Wow.
like because everyone was in this new strange place, and a lot of people didn't know each other. So people made friendships, and like you're living amongst each other. So
Yeah.
everyone made friendships incredibly fast. I met the most incredible people I've ever met. Like I love them. I love these people still. And it's been, gosh, 14 years later now. And like it was amazing. And so during this trip, um, I really hadn't spent a lot of time, or before this trip, I hadn't really spent a lot of time in other countries, experiencing other cultures, and it was really wonderful. I have this really sharp memory of. So I'm not sure. Are you familiar with Namibia?
I never
So,
heard this word.
no, so it's a country. It's
Ah,
called yeah, it's called Namibia. It's right above South Africa on the west shoreline, up like going up South Africa.
wow. It's
Yeah.
African country.
hmm It's all desert. It's like 90% desert, and it's mostly like sand or rock desert. They have both of them there. And I had always, when I was younger, I'd always, been outside. My mom's like, "Oh, look at the stars. You can see, Orion's belt. You can see this, you can see that." And, I'm from New York originally, and coming from New York, you look up at the sky and you'd see a very limited amount of
Yeah.
stars because of all the light pollution. And I didn't know that this could get better. You know what I mean? I just was like, "Oh, that's the sky at night. That's what it looks like. It's just star, 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 moon. Okay, we're done." And then I did a stargazing event where they took us into the desert and we stayed at this campsite. And then they actually for like a couple of 20-year-olds, they just like let us loose in the desert for a couple hours. They're just like, "Just be back by 7 when dinner happens." And we're like, "Okay." We're like, "Is there anything we need to worry about?" And they're just like, "Oh, you'll be fine." And then we like climbed this like huge rock mountain and like came down this little valley in between to get back to the campsite on time. And then they looked at us when we got there. They're like, "Did you just come down there?" We're like, "Yeah." They're like, "That's full of snakes." We're just
Wow.
like, "You probably should have told us this. Like, you probably should have been like, 'Don't go here. There are a bunch of snakes.'" And there's like pictures of us, like our feet on one rock wall and our backs on the other one because it's too deep to go below. And apparently right above us was this like ledge of snakes. and no one had
What?
any idea. We didn't piss them off too much.
So
But
you
then
saw
finally,
them.
we didn't see them. They just told us. They were like, "See that ridge right there?" We're like, "Yeah, my back was against it." They're just like snakes, just all snakes.
What? Okay.
So, but luckily, no one ended up getting hurt or bit, or I don't know how. But it didn't end up happening. And then so we get back down to the campsite. We have dinner. Like, the sky kind of falls, and finally, and like I'm like, wow, it's still like brighter outside at night. Like, let me take like I just want to take a step out and look up, and I have never seen with my naked eye so many stars in my entire life. The sky was covered. It wasn't like, here's Orion's belt, 1, 2, 3, 4. Like, it was everything. Like, yes, there were brighter stars, but like everything fully covered of stars,
Wow.
100% covered in stars. And she was like, you see that little like darker area over there? Like, there's still stars, but they look darker. We're like, yeah. She's like, look through the telescope, and it's just like a million stars, like in that little dark area. And like, we were seeing everything. We saw shooting stars one after the other, and we could see with our naked eye the satellites beeping across the sky.
Wow.
I
Really?
was just floored. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that I had gone 20 years and not seen or really understood that. It was
Exactly. That's
really
also weird
wonderful.
for me that I go to the sea now to places that I went before the pandemic, but now there is more connection. There is,
Mhm.
and I love to. So I live at night. Like I wake up at 8 p.m. and I go to bed in the morning. I'm like an empire, but I don't suck people blood anyway. And I feel like at night, because I feel like the light and people is like distraction. So when I live at night, I feel like I'm
Yes.
sharper and I focus more. Even for my
True.
comedy set, that's like almost my writing process. I listen to my sets or feedback mics and I walk at night by the beach, and I can, if I walk in the morning and there are people, my eyes
It's
is
just
going
there's just too
wandering.
much. I'm the exact same way. I love that you just said that. I'm the exact same way. Everything is just, the world is just a little quieter at night, and just quiet enough to be able to really focus and have a clear head, and be able to take a joke from, just being this joke, and being like, oh, let me play with this over here, let me play with this over here, and everything just starts to kind of come together late at night, late. Like, I'm
Yeah.
so right there with you. I love that you said that.
And one more thing, that's why some people they are like you should sit and write. I feel like you should find yourself, because also if when I'm walking, I feel like my body is operating better, the machine, like the blood is floating more, the breathing. I'm out at night, so I just love it.
That's wonderful. That's really wonderful.
And one more thing come to my mind is when I watch the moon and the stars at night, it's nice feeling, and I think like we don't really know. Like we were told that the moon is smaller than the sun and the moon is doing circles about Earth, and like, but we really haven't figured it out ourselves. Like we just found it in. So do you think what we've been told is true about the moon? Now I'm like Alex Jones.
Oh, like you're like conspiracy theorying whether or not, are you
Like
like
is
even
it
curious
true?
if it, are you going the route of like, this is a simulation, there is no sun, there is no moon? Is that where you're going?
Where I'm going is that nobody, I don't know. Like I don't trust anyone.
I think a lot of people are feeling that right now. Not a lot of people are feeling trust, because I think people have blindly trusted people that took advantage of them for a very long time, um, on all sides. And I think this has been a really difficult time for everyone. And questioning power and questioning those really kind of almost would seemingly would be basic things that we were taught as children, like, but you're also taught lies from the moment that you're born. You're taught that Santa Claus, Easter, Easter bunny, sorry children, like, but like we're taught
Oh yeah.
we were taught these sort of lies when we're younger, and those are sort of direct, like, knowing lies, and then some people are teaching their children unknowingly lies because they learned it from somebody else, and now they're teaching somebody else, and like then they're realizing, oh, I've been lied to, not on purpose, but I was lied to. And like I was somebody who, from the moment of the idea of aliens existing, I was like, I'm sure they exist. I'm
I
sure of
do
it.
too.
I was like, I am 100% sure of it. And people are like, you're a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, no, I'm a mathematician. Like, this, like, statistically, us being the only living creatures in the universe, in the galaxy, in whatever, is absurd. So to me, like, that was something that I always believed in. And then I think it was during the pandemic, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I think it was during somewhere in 2020 that the US government came out and they were like, yeah, aliens are real.
They say it. I didn't know this.
I'm pretty let me see if there's like a something I can lead you to.
That they are like, it's real.
Uh, yeah, yeah, they did. The Pentagon released like UFO videos. The US government admitted to the evidence of UFOs and stuff like that. So I was like, so when people were like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it, I'm just like, yeah, I could believe it. Like, I knew they were out there. But in terms of like the moon and the sun, I don't think I have the bandwidth or knowledge base of like astrology, or is that the right word? Yeah. To really be able to question. I don't even know where I'd begin.
For me, it's so weird that we really don't know. Like, yes, there are religions and this, but you really spend day to day and you really don't know the truth, like who we are or where did we come from. And that's why I love comedy, because it makes you know a little bit who you are and about yourself when you really make it.
Yes.
Because like very successful comedians and very famous comedians are these people who are really special and figure out their self. So how does comedy helping you? Like, after you did comedy, what were you surprised about who you are or your humor and all these things?
Mm. I think um, growing up, I was not a very strong student in English. Um, I just simply wasn't. I had like attention span issues, and I really kind of struggled in that class. I excelled in math and science, but not in English. So I think when I was doing improv, I was like, oh, I'm just like, we're just having fun. Like, we're just kind of making stuff up as we go on the fly. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. And that's okay, because we're all having a good time together. And then I was really actually nervous when Ryan got me to class, because my friends had done stand-up comedy. And I was like, to be a stand-up comedian, generally, you have to be a good writer. You're writing your own stuff. You're writing your wordsmithing all of this, intricate information together and weaving it into this story that you're here to tell people, and finding the funny in all of these things. Finding the funny, I thought that's something I'd be able to do, but not in a very articulate manner where I felt confident in my writing skills enough that I would even be able to do this and do it confidently. So that was something that really shocked me when I took the class, that was actually better than I gave myself credit for. I kind of expected it to just be horrible. And it ended up being okay, and then continuing to grow with it and understanding that it is a learning process. And the more that you do it, the more that you learn, the more you watch other people and see how they constructed something really cool. And you're like, oh, I never thought about going like that direction with it. And it's been a really incredible learning curve. But that was something, my ability to write and be able to take these kind of funky, disjointed thoughts in my head and organize them into a set. Like I really didn't think that I had that in me. I know that sounds like really basic, but that was I think the biggest surprise. That was something I learned. You can do this. It's going to take time and effort, and just like anything else does.
I think that everyone has a mind and brain. Yes, it's different. Everyone is different from other one. But in general, I do believe that our mind is a very strong machine, and you can navigate the world and anything you want to do. But I feel that you have to do it the right way, and that's why I like workout. It's a perfect example. Everyone can grow muscles, but when you do it the wrong way, you gonna break your body or end up injured. So I feel it's the same with the mind, but I feel it's more complicated because there is not like workout, or you have to figure it out yourself. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's not a lot of coaching. It's a lot of self-teach.
yeah, what works for you?
Mm-hmm.
So with comedy, what works for you? Like, do you write, or what do you do?
So sometimes I will just be sort of sitting at night, and I have, like, from a previous set. Sometimes I'll record my sets and I'll be like, "Oh, I really like the way that I said these things. I want to type it out so I remember how to, like, what I'm saying and how to say it next time." And just keep that sort of consistency and be like, "That worked. I'm going to use that. Now, what else can I play with?" So then I'll go and I'll sort of dissect my set and be like, all right, this joke here it's not connected to the joke before it or the one after it. How do I grow that joke? How do I transition into that joke better? How do I do that? So I'll sit down and I'll sort of play with it and write with it, and then go to a mic, the next day or two, and try some stuff out. But in my general day-to-day life, a lot of things come to me as ideas of, oh, that'd be funny. Someone will say something, I'm like, that could be a joke. That can be like, that could be a bit. That can be this. That can be that. And like, I have like this infinite Google sheet of jokes or joke premises or joke ideas of like, I think this billboard is fucking hilarious. I'm going to write a joke about this billboard. And I say what the billboard is and then the idea for the joke. And then I kind of go back into my conversation, because you can't be in the middle of a conversation with somebody and be like, excuse me, I need 15 minutes to write this joke about the thing you just said. So you know what I mean? So you just kind of have to be like, hang on one second. Okay, back to it. Which is I still feel like is a little rude. But I also know that if I do not write it down, I will not remember it. It will not happen. It will
Drives
be
me
gone.
crazy. Yeah.
It'll be gone in a heartbeat. So it's been learning that was a tough lesson, because I remember being like, even like laying in bed where you're just like trying, like thinking about, you're like going to sleep and your mind's running. And all of a sudden you get this great idea for a joke. And I'm just like, oh, I'll write it down tomorrow. Like, I'm so tired. I just like want to sleep. And then I wake up and I'm like, what the hell was that? So I've learned, take the second, apologize, take the second, write it down, and then get back to what you were doing. Don't just write, because like that was the other thing. At first I was just writing down like, champagne, and like, you know what I mean, like, which means nothing. It means nothing to me 10 hours from then, because I don't know what context champagne was in. What about champagne? The way that it looks, like the way that it tastes, like I have no idea what this even means. There were some funny ones. Oh, I wish I had them prepared for this, because there are some funny like what the hell was I writing? What the hell? Like, what the heck is this? Um, kind of premises that I'm just like, I almost want to write a joke about all the premises that I don't know what they mean. So yeah, so like that's part of my process. And then later on, when I'm and it's I have difficulty also like forcing myself to be writing. Like I really like to feel it more of like, ooh, I have this great idea, let me write, and then I'm furiously writing for a really long time. um and I do force myself sometimes where I'm like, all right, time to sit and play. Like, it's the most organic when I'm just, you know, just flowing with ideas and putting stuff down and not even really looking at the computer. But that's the other thing, is my mind moves too quickly for me to write, um to handwrite. I'm not a very quick handwriter, and so I have to do it on my phone, or I have to do it on my laptop, because my brain just goes way too quick. And then all of a sudden I'm like, this was the original idea, and then I'm here, and then I'm here, and then I'm here, but I'm still writing right here, and I like can't. It's so, like, a lot of people have those hand journals. I have one of those just for like when I'm sitting, like, doing comedy, making a quick note to myself of like what I want to perform. But most of it's on my phone. What about you?
Okay, so I just want to make funny comment about also people before they used to use handwriting, and
Yeah.
now we have the computer, Google Doc, and in the future, I think we will be even more advanced, and old people would be using computer and typing. So if your mind is too fast, don't worry. Soon there will be some. Um, so for me, I feel it's always a muscle to develop,
Mm-hmm.
writing and everything, and it develop during time. So for me, I feel lucky that I know what I want to say, and I know what I want from people. So for me, my I like to always compare, because like I come from Yemen, now I'm in Cyprus, and I see things in the US. So I always compare between like how people live here and how people live here.
Yeah.
Always, I do this. This is my game, and also I try to question things. I try also to make fun of ideas that people are still using, which is rather it's wrong, or it was maybe useful in an old time, but now it's you need to update them. So I what I do is I always have something funny, as you said, and I record video. I talk to myself. I don't like to type. I would
Mm-hmm.
just make a video record and say to myself, what is it and how is it? And then I would try it in open mic, try it in feedback mic,
Mm-hmm.
try to write it and work on it with myself, and try to compare, and some of them works perfect, some of them no, and that's why like also I try to listen to the record and work, and ideas will come up.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel it's also about you never know, just keep trying what you think is good, take it to feed. Do you go to feedback mics? Do you have like
Mm-hmm.
comedians you work with? Where, what, how was your
I
feed-
do that. I do that virtually. I don't really do that in person, actually. I've done it, I think, once in person, but they sort of discontinued that style of mic. But I like them. I like them a lot. And what's nice is by doing them virtually, you're not just getting feedback about like your area. So like, a lot of people that I'm obviously, working with here are in Charleston and have sort of that, a mindset based on where they're living and all these things. And so I'll do a joke and I'll do a feedback mic for people who are in Canada, for people who are, in the UK, people who are in other places of the US, the Midwest, West, like Northeast. And I'll say a joke, and people, it's great to do it with different types of people, because a reference that they might get down here they might not get in New York. They might not get in California. Like they might not get in Yemen. They might, all these things where you have to be aware of your content, and understanding how it can reach more people, without having to do a lot of translating. So it's something that I loved about, or still love about doing those feedback mics virtually with people from all over. It helps you sort of understand the world from just like a little bit of a different lens, where you're like, oh, right, I have to keep that in mind. Oh, all right, good. No, good to know. And everyone's very positive. It's not like no one's ever beating you down for thinking of an idea, coming up with an idea that maybe they didn't laugh at in the moment. Everyone's like, love where you're going with that. Maybe you can, play in this area, and maybe like play over here, and think about how that affected you when you were younger. And I'm like, oh my God. And then all of a sudden it's like, you're just writing like crazy. So I thought it was wonderful. I love
Yeah,
them.
like I was making a joke about how in Yemen, when you go to restaurants, there is really no chairs or tables. It's like you
There's
find
no chairs.
no, you find like spot outside. They give
Mhm.
you yoga mat and you sit in the ground. So that was like
I
the.
love that.
So I went to feedback mic, and one woman, she's like, so they expect you to eat like the doggy style, downward. And it never come to my mind, but it was so cool. Like when I used it in other mics, like I would tell them about the restaurants in Yemen, and then I would be like, they expect you to eat like the dog, to eat like the doggy style. So I go to joke Zoom
Mhm.
for feedback. I don't know for how long you can stay. How many more minutes? Or
I just wanted to message my husband real quick. He has to take something off the stove,
okay,
if that's all right. Let me just make sure
yeah,
that this isn't like, 'cause I have
everything
it.
under control.
Mm, uh, we'll see how that comes out. It's I'm for Easter here, I cooked like a really big ham. Um and I'm making like soup from the ham, like soup stock from the ham bone itself. So that's what's been simmering on my pot in the stove. And I thought it was simmering, and my husband messaged me. He's like, "Is this supposed to be simmering?" And I'm like, "Damn it." So we'll see how it comes out. I don't know.
Oh my God.
But I but I have
Yeah.
a couple of minutes. He's gonna handle that.
Okay. I just wanted to tell you that honestly, when my girl cook, it's you even feel the emotions, you feel the art, you feel the time she put. Me, I only cook to survive.
Nice.
So it's like my food, you can feel that I didn't even want to do it. But when you eat it, you can taste that. Uh, yeah, I want to. So I go to Joke Zoom.
Yeah.
Joke Zoom, it's like you have 10 minutes. We meet around like maybe 20, 30 comedian every day. And they
Oh, I
have,
think I know what this is. And sometimes it's at like 6 a.m. Sometimes it's
yeah,
at
Joke Zoom.
noon. That one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
So, they break into small rooms and you work on one joke.
Mhm.
And I go like every day. I like to not care about that moment. I record it and then I go to listen to it 4 or 5 times and I try to find funny, even
Mhm.
from me, what I told them, or I try just. And I go to other mic. It's called two joke minimum, and it's
Mhm.
the same, but you don't work on one joke. You just throw 4 minutes or 5 minutes, and the other 5 minutes it's feedback. So people will give you ideas or this. So I do both. And which one do you do for feedback?
So I do with Erin. I think it's Erin Despiva. Let me just make sure that that name is right. That last
After this,
name.
I might need you to send them to me because I will join.
Yeah, Erin Despiva. Yeah. So him and I want to get the other guy's name right. It's Bill. Oh my God, Bill. So sorry, Bill. Don't get mad at me when you watch this podcast that I forgot your last name off the top of my head. But yeah, so I've been so I'll send you
I will, yeah.
their information. They're so great. So what it is it's and it's a very small group. So it's about 4, maybe 5 people. And everybody gets 15 minutes, and you can do with that 15 minutes what you want. If you want to do if you want to do 4 minutes of jokes and then leave the other 11 minutes, to people giving you feedback, that's totally fine. If you want to do 10 minutes and give people 5 minutes for feedback, that's totally fine. So you can so what's nice is if you have a 5-minute or a 7-minute set, you can do the set, the whole you can do your whole set, and then people will give you feedback off of not just the joke but the set as a whole. And they're great. And sometimes people are just like, no, I'm just doing like just jokes, like not necessarily that they've been strung together in any sort of manner. But they're fun. Every time I've gone on them, somebody always says like, I never really expected a dirty joke to come out of your mouth, because I have like kind of a sweeter little look, like a little bit more innocent. And then I'll say like a really dirty joke and they're just like, oh my God, I had no idea. But that's good. Like it's they sort of talk about that as well, of like your appearance and like to like how that you can make that work for you more, for what some of the things that you're saying. They're just like, keep looking innocent. Like, don't go on stage looking like a dominatrix. Like, go up there looking cute and then say, all those awful words.
Like, I don't want to be rude, but I do agree with them. Like, I feel like
Oh yeah.
if I see you and then you start talking about dirty jokes, it's like you got me. You got my yeah.
Exactly.
It's cool. This and as I told you at the beginning, like I feel like you are so appealing, and I feel like when you have a very good look, it's also easier to catch people attention. Do you feel that men focus more to you more than women, or women focus more, or?
I'd say it's kind of a mix, but I probably lean a little bit more toward women. Like I think, or women, like if it's like this is men, this is women, I'd say it's probably it's probably a little off kilter, where like maybe women are more thinking about some of the topics I talk about. Granted, I talk about marriage and something that both sexes deal with, but because I'm coming from a female point of view, that kind of will touch with the women a little bit more than the men.
Oh,
but I also talk about a ton of other things. So like I also talk about like masturbation, I talk about this, I talk about that. So like I try and be all over the board, where I'm not just talking about things for women, it's for everyone. But yeah, I would say that if you were asking which one more, I'd say probably a little bit more women.
yeah, me too. I also like, I have jokes like about masturbating, sex, and sometimes I also try to feel the audience, and sometimes it's you do it because I have jokes about sex, masturbating, and me, and I have jokes about how I grew up with my dad. He is religious. He didn't even send me to proper school. How people in Yemen are crazy. So when I see the audience, I'm like, will this audience likes to hear more sex jokes and masturbating? Will they have more fun, or do they want to hear the comparison between Yemen and my dad, and here and there? And like, so my house is the only open mic in this island now, because I found comedy from Zoom and the podcast, and now it's open mic here. And I invite my friends. I do open mic, and after the open mic, I chat with them. So the last time we did open mic, I was doing comparison between Yemen and all this, and they laugh. But after that, I was chatting with them and putting the jokes about masturbating and sex, and they were dying. So I was like, maybe that would work better.
Yep.
So yeah, it's crazy. And I don't know, I feel like you say couple minutes, so I'm not gonna push it to the end. Maybe I can give you a little bit of breathe to leave. And I really had so much fun talking to you, and I'm
I did
even
too.
so excited that I will be able to work on the feedback Zooms, and I will see you again. I would be so sad if this would be the last interview on Zoom.
Oh gosh,
But
no, it definitely won't be. I really enjoyed this, and I'm really looking forward to continue to work with you.
yeah, I'm so happy that we're gonna be in the feedback, and as I said to most people here, hopefully in real life one day. But overall, I loved it. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and yeah, you are just so amazing. So thank you so much.
You too. Thank you so much for having me. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, evening. I don't know what time it is by you right now. It's
Yeah,
evening. Yeah.
it's it's 12 o'clock. So,
Hmm.
but I just eat breakfast. It's 12
That's great.
a.m. I will
Yep.
go to bed in the morning. So I'm just starting the day.
All right, great. Well, I hope you have a great day, night.
Okay. All the best. Bye bye. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thanks.